As we prepare to celebrate Thanksgiving this week, I want to introduce you to one of my favorite authors who was someone filled with gratitude. Hello friends, it's good to be with you. As always, thanks for taking a few moments to spend with me today. This episode will be airing on November 25th, Wednesday the 25th, which is Thanksgiving Eve. One thing I will tell you if you're watching this earlier in the day is that on Thanksgiving Eve at 7 o'clock, we'll have a virtual Thanksgiving Eve service here at St. Philip the Deacon. As with all of our services, you can find that at spdlc.org/livestream. And so I do have Thanksgiving on my mind, and of course we could go in a lot of directions with that. We could talk about the history of the holiday. We could talk about, I believe, how it was Abraham Lincoln who actually formalized it as a national holiday. You can correct me if I'm wrong about that in the comments below. But I have found myself this week thinking about one of my favorite authors. And I know I talk a lot here about C.S. Lewis, who is indeed one of my favorite authors. But this week I'm thinking of an author who is important not only to me, but also actually to C.S. Lewis. He was another Englishman. He lived early in the 20th century, so before C.S. Lewis, and he was actually very instrumental in C.S. Lewis's own conversion to Christianity. His name is G.K. Chesterton, or Gilbert Keith Chesterton. He wrote scores and scores of books, among them actually the beloved Father Brown detective stories, which I think turned into a series on BBC or PBS a few years ago. I'm a fan of him for a lot of his other writings, many of them theological. He was also a journalist. I'm actually so much a fan of Chesterton that a portrait of his actually hangs on my office wall. He was an incredible thinker, incredible writer. I would commend to you, if you're interested in doing a little bit of reading by him, a couple of the books that are maybe most accessible are biographies of some of the saints. So there's a famous biography about St. Francis of Assisi, a small, thin volume. And then there's another one about someone I've mentioned here more than a few times, St. Thomas Aquinas. This one is called The Dumb Ox, which was a nickname that some of his colleagues gave him when he was a younger man. Anyway, those are both absolutely worth reading. I'm thinking of Chesterton, though, because he was renowned for his jollity, for his happiness, and indeed for his life filled with gratitude. Just a quick sampling of a few quotes from him about gratitude. I would maintain, he writes in one place, that thanks are the highest form of thought, and that gratitude is happiness doubled by wonder. Or this one, the aim of life is appreciation. There is no sense in not appreciating things, and there's no sense in having more of them if you have less appreciation of them. In that he both lifts up appreciation and gets at one of the spiritual ills that befalls us when we are blessed with lots of things. Another one, when it comes to life, the critical thing is whether you take things for granted or take them with gratitude. I love that one. If you are a member of St. Philip the Deacon, you will have received a mailing in the last week or so for our annual pledge appeal for 2021. And for that letter, I actually have a quote by G.K. Chesterton. I will come to that in a second. The quote comes from a book of his with the dull title called Orthodoxy. It's a dull title, but it's a really important book. And as a sort of way of lifting up Chesterton's focus on gratitude and appreciation and joy, the very last word of this book, actually, where he's talking about a attribute of Jesus that we probably don't think about very often, and Chesterton's one of the people who got me thinking about it more. The last word of the entire book is mirth, M-I-R-T-H, and he ends the book with that word, using it to describe one of the qualities of Jesus himself. And so that's, again, it's a way of getting into the psyche maybe of Chesterton, who was just filled with gratitude. But back to this letter where I lift up a quote from Chesterton about gratitude. And it comes from this book, Orthodoxy. And I actually want to read the quote in a little bit of context. Let's see. I'll start here. He writes, here, in this point in this book, here, I am only trying to describe the enormous emotions which cannot be described, and the strongest emotion was that life was as precious as it was puzzling. It was an ecstasy because it was an adventure. It was an adventure because it was an opportunity. The goodness of the fairy tale, this is one of the ways he talks about life, that we are in a fairy tale. The goodness of the fairy tale was not affected by the fact that there might be more dragons than princesses. It was good to be in a fairy tale. There again, you get that sense of gratitude. It was good to be in a fairy tale. And then this quote, this is the one that's at the top of that letter. The test of all happiness is gratitude, and I felt grateful, though I hardly knew to whom. This was before he became a Christian, right? So he's struggling with, who am I supposed to say thank you to? And then he goes on, and I'll close with a few more sentences here. Children are grateful when Santa Claus puts in their stockings gifts of toys or sweets. Could I not be grateful to Santa Claus when he put in my stockings the gift of 2 miraculous legs? We thank people for birthday presents of cigars and slippers. Can I thank no one for the birthday present of birth? So here he's sort of moving his way towards recognizing that this miracle, this mystery of life, is a gift. And this week, as we celebrate Thanksgiving, I pray that each of us can give thanks to the God who gave us life. As always, thanks for spending some time with me. Be well, stay in touch, and God bless.